Hello and welcome to our 19th UDK tutorial, and in this tutorial we're just going to learn about some basics of lighting and the properties of point lights. So I've just gone ahead and opened up the map we created last time using static meshes, and what we're going to do is we're just going to drag in an object that we can do some stuff with. So in my case I'm just going to drag in this shadow, what am I talking about? This statue. So drag that in, and let's go ahead and scale it up 5 times, or maybe 6 times, let's go with that. And let's just add in the light to illuminate this. Now, usually we'd probably want to illuminate this back area since it's looking really dark, but just for this example I'm actually going to place the light here. So we can right click and go add actor light point, or we could in fact just hold L and click. Now, one of the things about a point light is that it is literally just supplying, it's just a supplier of light. It's nothing complex. Well, it's got lots of different properties which can be complex, but it's not really anything too confusing. It just provides light in its radius with certain fall-off properties and stuff like that. So a point light is basically the most basic light there is, hence it's L and click, L for light I would assume. You add one in, it provides the light, and we've been using this up to this point. We translate them and we've changed the radius using our scaling. There is a better way to do the radius if you want that, and we'll do that in a minute. But basically, even though this little point light here doesn't seem very complex, and it is the most basic kind of light, there are lots of different types of lights which we're going to go over in future tutorials. There are actually quite a few properties you can change with this, as we'll see in a sec. So let's just open up this little guy's properties. Let's right click and go point light properties, or you can just press F4. And let me just minimize all this stuff. Okay, so you should see something like this. Now just go into light component, and let's just go into the light component first. And these are really the most common properties you're going to want to edit. So we have the brightness. If we just put this up, you can see our shadow is now much more prominent and the rest is much brighter. And you can click here as well and just change the value if you want to, so to maybe 6. And we have the light color here. We can either click here and then use the color wheel to make it kind of like either this blue or this green or whatever you want. So I'm going to go with green because it makes things pretty easy to see. Then we have if the light is actually enabled or not. So obviously that's pretty simple. And if it casts shadows or not. So we can see now there's no shadow here. And now we have our shadow. Also note with the light color, by the way, if we drop this down we can change the individual red, green, blue and alpha values. So these are the most common properties really: the brightness, the light color, enabled and cast shadows. Now it gets a bit more complex down here with static shadows and dynamic shadows and loads of other stuff which we don't quite need to worry about yet, so don't worry about those. But these 4 at the top, you're probably going to want to mess about with these quite a lot to achieve different effects. Now the next little thing we're going to look at is in point light component. So we have our radius, which is actually the radius of the light, as we've been changing using the scaling before. So at the moment it's at 1024. If we want to change this to something considerably lower, like 128, then obviously you can see that's now emitting a lot less light. Or if we wanted, I can't think of another nice number, 512, there you go. I'll just put it back to 1024 for the time being. And we also have this fall off exponent and shadow fall off exponent. These are pretty simple to understand. If you mess about with them you'll easily see what they do, but I don't really feel like going over those right now, so I'll probably talk to you about those in a different video, probably when we're talking about different types of lights. So you should understand these either if you play around with them or watch one of my future videos. But yeah, radius is the main one we want to mess around with in there. So those are really the most basic properties of lights, and to be honest most of the time they will do for customization. One more thing I'm actually going to quickly go over. If we just quickly go back in here, change our radius to 248. Oops, I meant 2048. So that's now huge. And we're going to go into light component. We're going to put our brightness up to 10. In fact, no, let's go a bit crazy. Let's put it up to 30. So now it's ridiculously bright and it's quite a big light. Now we probably want to show that this light is more of a main light, because if we just click away we can see, hang on a minute, we have a light here, we have a light here, we have lights here, and we have a light here. You know, which one's causing all this crazy green light? I don't know what's going on. Well, I do, because this one actually happens to be colored green. But let's just pretend I didn't know what was going on. Well, what I could do is, if we just go back to this and just go to its properties, if we go to display and then draw scale, we can actually change the size of the actual kind of the light icon. So if I just change this, in fact, it's probably easy to, what have I done? It's probably easy just to drag this on this one, but since it's quite a main light and it's quite a big light and bright light, why don't I just up this to maybe 3ish, and you can see, whoa, this is now much bigger, and we can tell that this light is probably going to be the source, since it's a whole lot bigger than these small little lights, which are obviously used for these static mesh, well, to make it look like it's coming from the static meshes for those wall lights. So you can also change the size of the icon just by using draw scale under display, and that's pretty useful as well. So that's really the end of this tutorial. I'm going to go over the different types of lights in different tutorials, and hopefully I'll go off these different fall off things, because they're really useful as well. But for now, that's the end of this tutorial. I hope you've learned a bit more about general lighting and point light properties. So that's the end, and have a nice day.